State of the nation is still the major conversation that we're having this morning. The major events that has taken place since the new administration got into office. I'm talking about our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course the inauguration of the 10th Assembly and all that conversation. We'll be looking into it this morning, and of course to have that conversation with us is Barrister Jide Ologun. Good morning, sir. You're welcome.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, so the major first event that happened, even from the inauguration morning, is the subsidy removal. The moment the president talked about it, the whole country went haywire. And of course, the conversations with the NLC and the TUC making demands and the back and forth that has ensued after that. And, you know, the workers' wages review, and every other demand that you're making. How do you react to all of that?
You know, I liken it to when you're having a flight and you have a stopover in a country and another pilot needs to fly the aircraft to the final destination. Of course, you still have your passengers going with you, the plans you still have to. So the removal of the subsidy had been done. So it was for the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, to change his mind and say, no, I'm not going to remove the subsidy, or to proceed. So I think what happened is that some expected it should have waited till the end of June. But from revelations, it wasn't as if subsidy was even there. In fact, the federal government is owing NNPC, and there are a lot of stories around the subsidy. But the big question is that, can we sustain the subsidy regime? The answer has been no, even before now. And all the major contestants for the presidency promised to remove the subsidy. And then, of course, it threw unexpected hardship on the people. And there were engagements before then to bring in palliatives, but to what extent that will palliate the citizens is another thing. And we've seen the pump price of petroleum going up, and we have also discovered, though some of us knew that before, that some neighboring countries have been feeding fat on our resources to the detriment of the citizens, and that the subsidy regime is actually a huge scam. And I must commend our President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces for how he has handled the stakeholders' engagement. You know, he has really listened to them, and because a man told me at the time that a weak decision is better than indecision. So, and he is also not denying the fact that hardship will be thrown on the pathway of the national journey, but we must do it now, particularly when you consider the fact that your revenue drive is critical to your wealth creation and wealth sustenance. So that's a bold step there, and we hope that he will be able to manage the consequences, and I believe those are going on. The independent marketers, they are cooperating. Some reforms are going on in NNPC. There will be a review of the Petroleum Industry Act, and I mean, I understand the price of gas has come down, and the flaring of gas also is also being considered. So we need to adjust and again to redefine our relationship with neighboring countries. I understand that even Cameroon had to run their refineries aground because of fuel coming in from Nigeria, and I expect also that the smugglers, we have to look elsewhere. So we need to benefit from the resources of the nation. So,
all right, quickly, still on that conversation. Sorry, Josh, just a minute. Let us look at the demands the NLC and their guys are making. Some school of thought think that while it is within their rights to make those demands, some of them are also not very reasonable. You know, the 200% increase in the minimum wage and, you know, wages review and all that. How do you react to?
Economically speaking, A minimum wage increase may not be the way to go when you talk of sustainable palliatives, because how many of the stakeholders are in the formal sector? The market woman is not earning minimum wage. And what happens is that the moment she hears that minimum wage has increased, automatically it touches on the inflation in the market. So I want to see us invest in transportation infrastructure, then find ways, or probably let's have electricity. And I believe we need to discuss that, because he has signed a bill into law in that direction. You know, let's find ways of making people save from areas of expenditure leakages to cushion that effect. And right now, Nigerians are adjusting. Many are doing fiscal exercise instead of burning fuel all around, and adjusting their purchase style and consumption style and things like that, because it's obvious that the president does not intend to go back on this. And then the NLC and TUC, after also listening to him and discovering the damage done to our economy by some neighboring countries, I say, okay, now we see. So the negotiation for minimum wage and all those demands, I think, has even been pushed to the latter part of the year. And between now and then, let's see how far we can go. And he's also trying to look at other areas of our economy that can help make the reforms more effective. For instance, the Apex regime, the FX window, has been collapsed. So you now have a unified market, and banks have been instructed by CBN to sell out dollars. So you see the market forces determining the exchange rate, and you no longer have a situation where someone wakes up in the morning, goes to the CBN to get dollar at 460 and comes to the streets next door to sell for 750. So we really need to, and this by extension, we begin to attend to the income gap that we have. And like the wise people say, no pain, no gain. If indeed we need a drastic change in the country, we must go through this. It's touching. I mean, personally, it's touching me when I calculate how much I need now to fill the tank. But let's go through this. If the sincerity of purpose is sustained, I believe that in no distant a time, the market forces will bring down the pain and we begin to enjoy the gain, because he has promised to divert those wastages back to building infrastructure in the medical sector, education sector, and really giving a meaningful life to citizens.
All right, Josh.
All right, now looking at the fact that, just as you said, that the increment or the review of the minimum wage does not cover everyone, especially the average woman who sells in the market, which we also understand. While we're also waiting, just as you said, that the period given to see if there are going to be some improvement in critical infrastructures, given the fact that fuel subsidy has been removed. Do you see this negotiation as being very sacrosanct? That's number one. Are we likely to see a situation where, if critical infrastructures are not developed or not revamped, as it were, is the NLC and the TUC capable enough to shut down the nation?
The NLC, they have the right to go on strike, shut down the system, but they must follow lay down procedures. There are procedures for all these actions. But then we have what we call collective bargaining. And one beauty of collective bargaining is that you come to the table to judge. You know, the government has put on the table what the picture is, the realities, the dreams, and things like that. Then how can we cushion the effect? I read that the oil marketers came together to donate some buses, and right now we are beginning to shift focus in the transportation sector to getting vehicles that are gas driven, not necessarily And again, one area of attention should be how do we revamp our refineries?